So today we're going to do a quick little factory service manual test on our purge control valve, which is this guy back here. The reason I decided to do the test on here is because that purge control valve is pretty oily. So I've suspected something's going wrong. Either my routing for the main purge hose coming off of the oil filler neck is too tight of a radius and it's pinching it off and causing issues there, or maybe we're just not getting enough vacuum, or the valve is bad. Those were my theories. It's kind of a weird design. You can't see it very well, but we have one small vacuum line going up, one going down, and then one that I have kind of looped right here around the fuel line because I have a series mismatch here. But basically all we're going to do is we're going to pop this off of our oil filler neck here. We should not feel vacuum at idle, which is about 1,000 RPMs or so, but we should feel it at about 2,000. And that's the whole test. We just pop this off, feel for vacuum with the finger with the car running at 2 different speeds, and that tells you what you need to know. So now we just have to open up the garage so we don't asphyxiate. I'm going to give you a nice sound for the engine startup. Putting you all the way at the very back outside edge of the metal fender, as close as I can get to the tip from a metal point. So we're at about 2,000 right now, and I felt vacuum for a second. There's a little bit right now. At 2,500, there's a pretty substantial vacuum. So if you're interested in a slightly more scientific number here, I'm going to measure the upper vacuum source. So right now we're at about 1,500 RPMs. And if you watch this gauge, we roll up . So we get just a little bit. That's me blowing on it. Or me sucking on it. So it's not very much. You can see we're going to like 2 on our gauge there. So let me pull that vacuum line off, reattach as is proper here. Now we're going to measure our actual guy. So apologies for changing your orientation here. So we do get a little bit of vacuum there. And we have quite a lot more vacuum from that other lower source. For fun. Well, interesting result there. We get quite a lot of vacuum from that lower port and very, very little from the upper port. So here is an S5 intake assembly off of the car. So here's where our upper vacuum port for that purge control valve feeds from. And then all the way over here, this is where the lower one feeds from. So it's the outer 2 on here. If you notice, those feed in right here. Okay, all makes sense. And then they go there. They don't actually feed into the ports, but from there, if we look at our little spacer guy here, you notice there's 3 holes. So obviously we're not paying attention to the middle one at the moment. The lower one actually goes to that little hole on the inside there of that ring, the lower intake runner ring. But the upper one, it goes somewhere weirder. It goes to this hole in the middle on the front side. From that center port there, we go to this center port here on the throttle body, and then you'll have to pull out your copy of the factory service manual to see where it actually routes. So if you look here, the line I highlighted in green is our upper vacuum port, and it actually eventually leads to the front side of the bottom runner's throttle butterfly. So that's where it actually goes. It's a little hard to see even looking at it in person because the port is so small there. But yeah, this gives you a nice view. You can see the lower one is from the downstream side behind that lower intake runner throttle body, and the yellow line is our main purge line going to the oil filler neck. So I suspect the PCV is bad on my car because I'm not seeing consistent hard vacuum feeling at the purge line when I'm over 2,000 RPMs. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. So I suspect the diaphragm is not reliably releasing the connection between the two lower sides on the PCV. I suspect how it was designed is that the purge line is supposed to connect to the hard vacuum line, which is the one that routes behind the butterflies, behind the throttle plates, so that you see that hard vacuum come through and, you know, suck up the oil vapors and whatnot that gets generated in there. Unfortunately, Mazda has discontinued the PCV for the first and second gen RX-7s. I think it was used on a couple other things as well, but it looks like I'm going to have to dig through my spare parts or try to source something used online. I'm going to do a few other FC sensor tests and videos just to kind of cover all of the other basics on diagnosing an FC. There's a few more, so I'll try and put out a video periodically about these so we have a complete playlist of here's how you test the PCV, here's how you test BACV, etc., etc. Anyway, I hope this was helpful for you. Thanks for watching. Bye. Ugh, God. That feels terrible. Nice and easy.